What's good, YouTube? Today's video is going to be a survival hunter guide for Dragonflight. We're going to cover everything for the survival hunter, from talents to tier sets, rotation, stat priority and consumables, and also any macros you might want to use. I'll also go over my overall thoughts on this spec at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But if this video does help you out, then please feel free to drop a like down below and also subscribe to your boy. But let's crack on with the guide. So first, I'll run over two different builds for the survival hunter, one for single target for your raid encounters and one for AoE to cater towards your Mythic Plus dungeons or cleave fights. This first build that I have up on screen at the moment will be for single target or low sustained AoE raid encounters in Dragonflight. This build leans into focusing on Mongoose Bite and Mongoose Fury stack management, as well as strong priority damage through Spearhead to take down those bosses. If we quickly run through the main talent point nodes, then we'll see that we're going to take Kill Command and Kill Shot up the top. As a survival hunter, we're going to take any survivability that we can, so Natural Mending comes in clutch there, straight into Survival of the Fittest, and then Nature's Endurance to buff up that Survival of the Fittest, making this cooldown now reduce damage taken by 40%. We're going to take Misdirection as well for the survival hunter, as a lot of your damage is going to be redirected from your actual abilities and not your pets. Tar Trap as well, just in case we need it. And the same goes for Binding Shot down here. You can switch between this and Scatter Shot if you want to. Some more survivability in Rejuvenating Wind, along with Hunter's Avoidance as well, making us take 6% less damage from area of effect attacks. Some movement speed from Pathfinding. We're going to go for 4% crit chance from Keen Eyesight, which is going to tie in very nicely with Master Marksman, causing our crit strikes to make the target bleed for an additional 15% of the damage. Then the main talent point we're going to go for down the bottom is Death Chakram. That's going to increase the damage the enemy takes by 10% from us and our pet for 10 seconds. And we're also going to take Poison Injection, which is just going to bump up our already strong single target damage. Over to the survival spec tree then, we're obviously going to take the main abilities here in Raptor Strike. We're also going to take Wildfire Bomb, but then we're going to come down here on the right and turn our Raptor Strike into Mongoose Bite. This is where a lot of our damage is going to come from as a survival hunter. Big priority single target damage with those Mongoose Bites. And whenever we use this Mongoose Bite ability, it's going to grant us a stack of Mongoose Fury, increasing the damage of our Mongoose Bite by 15% for 14 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. But the buff doesn't reset its duration when you apply a new stack of Mongoose Fury. We're going to come back up and take Harpoon for some extra mobility, but we're also going to talent into Terms of Engagement, which is going to deal some minor damage, but it's going to generate us 20 focus over 10 seconds, and this resets whenever we kill an enemy. We're going to take Bloodseeker, which is going to make us want to spread out our kill commands across any targets that we're in a fight with. One, to spread out this bleed, but also to gain 10% attack speed for every enemy bleeding within 12 yards. We're going to come down and take Guerrilla Tactics, which is going to give us 2 charges of Wildfire Bombs and also increase the initial explosion damage. Intense Focus for 6 additional focus from kill commands to further dump into our Mongoose Bites. And then Improved Wildfire Bomb just to deal an additional 25% damage. Coming across them, we're going to take Flanking Strike, which is a big single target damaging ability, but it's also going to generate us 30 focus. So we want to make sure that we use this when we're low on focus. Going to buff up Mongoose Bite damage with Spear Focus over here. And then come down and put 2 points in Viper's Venom to give our Mongoose Bite a 30% chance to apply its Serpent Sting to our target. This is going to work nicely with Poison Injection over here, just increasing that single target damage. 1 point in Sharp Edges to increase our crit damage dealt by 2%. And then flat buffing our Mongoose Bite and Carve or Butchery damage by 10% with Sweeping Spear. We're then going to take Wildfire Infusion, which has been in the game for a while for survival hunters now. The basic idea is if you get a blue bomb down here, this is going to make your Mongoose Bite and Carve or Butchery apply internal bleeding, causing some bleed damage over 9 seconds, but it can stack up to 3 times. If you throw the red bomb or the pheromone bomb, Kill Command has an 100% chance to reset against targets coated with pheromones. And lastly, you have the green bomb or the volatile bomb, which reacts violently with poison, causing a bit of extra fire damage against enemies suffering from Serpent Sting, and also now applies Serpent Sting up to 3 targets. This talent right here is going to alter your gameplay the most probably, but a lot of you survival hunters are probably used to this by now. We're next going to take Quick Shot, which is just going to add some passive damage, giving us a 30% chance to fire an arcane shot whenever Kill Command resets. Going to buff up our kill command damage with Killer Companion over here. 2 points in Ranger, once again just flat buffing up our damage. You'll see a lot of this in the survival tree as you have already. And then our main cooldown for single target scenarios is going to be Spearhead, causing us and our pet to charge our enemy, striking them for some damage, but then also increasing our pet damage by 25% and making our Raptor Strike or Mongoose Bite deal an additional 35% damage over 4 seconds and giving kill command a 20% increased chance to reset. This then ties into Deadly Duo, which you're going to whack your last 2 points in, causing your Mongoose Bite to increase the damage of your next kill command by 40% and also giving it a 25% extra chance to reset, and this stacks up to 3 times. This also makes kill command resets extend the duration of Spearhead by 1.5 seconds, so you definitely want to be weaving in those kill commands. So this is going to be your general single target build. This build specifically just focuses on big Mongoose Bite damage and feeding those Mongoose Bites into those Mongoose Fury windows. You'll see your Mongoose Bites easily critting for over 100k, and you'll be weaving those kill commands in within your Spearhead window. This next build will be the go-to for most M+ keys where you don't need to focus on single target damage as much. This build utilizes cooldowns such as Stampede, Coordinated Assault, and Fury of the Eagle to be able to deal some burst cleave damage. This also includes Poison Injection and Viper's Venom, a combination which can be a bit tricky to optimize, so feel free to opt into a bit more passive damage with taking Hydra's Bite, which is just going to fire 2 additional Serpent Stings at enemies near your target and increase the damage over time by 20%. Poison Injection in AoE can involve a lot of min-maxing and target switching for very little rewards, so this other build may fit your preference. So the main changes for this build then is we're going to whack 1 point in Intimidation, a very nice single target stun for Mythic Plus content. If your interrupt's on cooldown and you still need to interrupt a mob, then you can just hit them with an Intimidation as long as the mob is stunnable and stop their cast. The other changes in the class tree include going for Stampede instead of Death Chakram. This is just to line up our 2-minute cooldowns all together. It's going to deal some nice AoE damage, snare the enemies by 30% that are struck, but also increase our crit chance by 10% against them for 5 seconds. This lines up very nicely with Coordinated Assault, so you can pair these up for big burst windows. Speaking of burst, we're also going to go for 1 point in Explosive Shot just to increase our AoE burst potential. This deals some pretty huge damage, so definitely don't sleep on this talent. And that is pretty much as far as the changes go for the class tree. Over to the spec tree then, our first change that we can see is we're going to put 1 point in Butchery. This is going to deal AoE damage and it has 3 charges on a 7.5 second recharge, but most importantly it's going to reduce the remaining cooldown on your Wildfire Bombs by 1 second for each target hit, up to 5 seconds. We're then going to come down and take Frenzy Strikes, which is just going to further empower our Butchery to reduce the remaining cooldown of Wildfire Bombs by 1 second, and also the remaining cooldown of Flanking Strike by 1 second. Again, up to 5 targets hit. We're still going to take Flanking Strike for some extra focus generation, and we're going to whack 1 more point in Sharp Edges. Again, with the Wildfire Infusion, the same applies, but this time we're actually going to take Coordinated Assault. This ability makes you and your pet charge your enemy, striking them for around 20k damage, and causes your pet's basic attacks to empower your next spell cast, whether that's Wildfire Bomb, it's going to increase the initial damage by 20% on that, or it's going to cause Kill Shot to also make the target bleed for 50% of Kill Shot's damage over 6 seconds. Pairing this up with the talent down the bottom then is Birds of Prey, which is going to cause our Kill Shot to strike up to 3 additional targets while Coordinated Assault is active. This makes for some huge cleave burst potential. You'll be firing out 4 kill shots in one global that are all going to hit for over 100k and also cause the target to bleed, so you can really start to see where this cleave damage is coming from. Back up to Coordinated Kill then. Whenever Coordinated Assault is active, the cooldown of your Wildfire Bombs is reduced by 50%. It generates 10 focus when it's thrown, and Kill Shot's cooldown is reduced by 50%. This also makes Kill Shot usable on any target regardless of their current health, so you can just get firing off those Kill Shots as soon as possible. Lastly, for the AoE part of the build, you want to go with Fury of the Eagle, a channeled AoE ability which does some pretty hefty damage, especially on targets below 50% health because of the additional crit chance, and your kill command resets are going to reduce the cooldown of your Fury of the Eagle ability by 3 seconds, and your crit strikes with this ability are going to reduce the cooldown of your Wildfire Bomb and Flanking Strike by 1 second, so you can see how this build starts to all tie in together. Lastly, we're going to bang 2 points in Ruthless Marauder, just applying that crit chance soft execute, and also giving Fury of the Eagle that CDR value for Wildfire Bomb and Flanking Strike. So this is the build you're generally going to run for Mythic Plus. Obviously, like I said, you can switch out Poison Injection for Hydra's Bite. You won't lose too much damage doing this at all, if any. This build does some great burst cleave on a 2-minute cooldown, but still focuses largely on those priority damage windows with your Mongoose Bite. Unfortunately, survival does lack a little bit on the AoE side, but it definitely makes up for it in single target priority damage. Next, we'll run over the tier set then. The tier set is pretty standard for survival hunters. The 2-piece is a flat 15% increase in damage for Raptor Strike or Mongoose Bite depending on talents, as well as Carve or Butchery. The 4 set gives these abilities a 20% chance to make your next cast of one of these abilities cost no focus and deal 50% increased damage. This tier set doesn't really change much in the way of playstyle for the survival spec. You'll mostly use this to play around Mongoose Bite and cause it to hit extremely hard. The 4-piece can grant 3 Mongoose Bites, which helps stack your Mongoose Fury even faster, and meshes very well with the Spearhead focus build, which lets Survival have a very powerful role as a priority target damage dealer. So let's move on to the rotation then. Survival is a spec that is heavily about focus management and knowing your priorities. The core of the gameplay is generating focus with Kill Command and spending it with Mongoose Bite, maintaining your Serpent Sting dot, and keeping your Wildfire Bomb on cooldown while reacting appropriately to the Wildfire infusion types of your bomb. For your single target encounters, you'll want to follow this opener. First, use Death Chakram, then you're going to use Harpoon to reach the target and to activate Terms of Engagement. Cast Wildfire Bomb to get it off cooldown. Activate your Spearhead ability, and then start your Mongoose Fury window with the Mongoose Bite. After this opener, you'll want to continue your normal rotation according to the following priority list. Use Harpoon on cooldown, but try your best not to lose auto attacks while doing so. You have to leave melee range very slightly and briefly to be able to use it. Personally, I like to disengage and then just Harpoon straight back in. Next, cast Death Chakram on cooldown, provided it won't focus cap you, or right before your Spearhead window, always syncing them up on every second use. Your next priority is to use Spearhead on cooldown, pull some focus before using it, and always synchronize it with Death Chakram. Next, use Kill Command if it will not focus cap you and if it is about to cap on charges, or when you have 2 or more stacks of the Deadly Duo talent during Spearhead. The next priority is to spam Mongoose Bite during your Spearhead window, and also use Mongoose Bite during Mongoose Fury if it is about to expire. After that, you'll be wanting to cast your Kill Shot on cooldown, then use your Flanking Strike on cooldown with less than 60 focus. Use your Pheromone Bomb while Mongoose Fury is down and you have less than 43 focus. This is to ensure that you will not needlessly focus cap when you spend the procs on kill commands. Next, cast Kill Command to prevent it from capping on charges if you are below 71 focus. If you haven't already, activate Spearhead with at least 61 focus. Again, spam Mongoose Bite during Mongoose Fury. Following that, use Wildfire Bomb when it is close to reaching 2 charges. Make sure to start a Mongoose Fury window when you have 61 focus or above. And lastly, use your Wildfire Bombs on cooldown. For Mythic Plus and AoE encounters, you'll want to follow this opener. Start by using a Wildfire Bomb as well as your Death Chakram. Activate your Coordinated Assault. Use Kill Shot to get that burst cleave damage. Then use Explosive Shot. Use Butchery to reduce the cooldown of your Wildfire Bomb, and then use your Wildfire Bombs. Once again, after this opener, you'll want to continue your normal rotation according to the following priority list. Cast Wildfire Bomb when it's about to reach 2 charges. Use Coordinated Assault on cooldown along with your Stampede on cooldown, but you want to pair these up together. Use your Kill Shot on cooldown while Coordinated Assault is active, and then use your Explosive Shot on cooldown. Then you'll want to use Butchery when it is about to reach 3 charges. For AoE, you will then want to cast Wildfire Bomb on cooldown. After throwing a blue bomb, you'll want to dump all of your Butchery charges to stack up its internal bleeding effect on multiple targets. Your next priority is to cast Fury of the Eagle on cooldown, as well as using Flanking Strike on cooldown with less than 60 focus. Then use Butchery on cooldown as long as it won't overcap you on charges of Wildfire Bomb, and you should also hold it if your next bomb is going to be a Shrapnel Bomb or the Blue Bomb. Then you'll want to use Mongoose Bite to spend your Poison Injection stacks once they reach 8. Make sure to check all active targets for their debuff stacks. You will never want it to exceed 8 on any target. After that, use Kill Command when you have below 60 focus or if it is about to cap on charges. Use Kill Shot on cooldown and when you can. And lastly, use Mongoose Bite. You should use it on targets that do not have Serpent Sting active or targets with a low duration remaining on it due to the Viper's Venom talent. So that is your rotation for single target in AoE situations. It is very much much just following a priority list after your opener. So once you get that priority down in your head, you'll be flying and the rotation will feel pretty simple to you. Now we'll quickly run through the stats with you guys. As always, if you're ever confused if a piece of gear is an upgrade for you, I would always recommend you to sim your character first. That being said though, haste and crit are very close as your best secondary stats. The third priority is a slightly more tricky. Mastery is going to be better for single target, while versatility is better for AoE encounters. Therefore, I'd gather some spare gear in your bags with different stats on them so you can swap out depending on the type of content you are clearing. Now we'll hop onto consumables. As far as enchants go for the survival hunter, you'll want to go with Sophic Devotion for a single target fight, but in AoE you'll want to go with Frozen Devotion to enchant your weapon. On your cloak you'll want to go with Homebound Speed. Your chest enchant you're going to want to go with Waking Stats, Devotion of Speed on the braces, Fierce Armor Kit on your legs. For your boots, you'll want to go with Planesrunner's Breeze. And lastly, for your ring enchant, you'll want to go with Devotion of Haste. You can swap up these tertiary stats if you please. The only reason I recommend speed is it is the only tertiary stat that directly affects your DPS because you can move around quicker and get back into melee range if you're ever out of it. Your file of choice for the survival hunter is going to be the file of Glacial Fury. If you're frequently attacking new enemies such as M+, I'd personally recommend file of Tepid Versatility for higher M+ keys, as it is a solid stat for AoE damage but also helps you survive as the squishy hunter that you are. Elemental Potion of Power is your DPS potion of choice, with Refreshing Healing Potion being your best healing option. For your weapon buff, once you are sufficiently geared, you'll want to go with Buzzing Rune or Howling Rune. Depending which rune to use is typically best simulated, but neither will be far apart from the other in terms of performance. For your food buff, ideally you'd want to consume a feast for the agility buff, but Feisty Fish Sticks are a good backup as some personal food. Lastly, we'll go on to gems for the consumable part of this guide. There are a few different gems to consider based on the content you're doing as well as your character stats. I'm sorry for being a broken record, but it's always a good choice to sim. But here are some good suggestions. For single target or AoE, you want to go with Crafty Yosemerald or the Crafty Alexstrasite as an alternative. If you have a good amount of haste for single target, you'll want to go with Sensei's Nelthorite. And your primeless gem of choice is going to be the Fierce Illimited Diamond. But remember that these are unique equipped, meaning you can only equip one of them across your whole gear. As far as macros go, I always like to use a misdirection macro that casts directly at the tank. A lot of people will use an at focus macro and stick their tank on their focus, but I like to just paste the tank's name after the at sign. This way I can put priority kicks on my focus and use an at focus macro for my kicks or stuns. I use a coordinated assault macro that also just use my racial, blood fury and a trinket if I have an unused trinket equipped. I have at cursor macros for targeted floor abilities like binding shot, where you can just pre-place your cursor and then press the keybind and it will automatically place it where your cursor already is. The same goes for freezing, trap and tar trap. Then, like I mentioned, I like to have at focus macros for intimidation, and also I have one for muzzle as well. And then finally, if you really want to min-max, you can use this macro, which I'll have linked in the description, which is going to summon a pet if you try to use kill command without a pet active. Trust me, I do it all the time. But also it's going to tie your pet's basic attack to this ability as well, because there is a slight delay between your pet's attacks. They don't use them perfectly on cooldown, so you will get a very slight increase in damage by tying their basic attack to an ability like this. So that is my guide for the Survival Hunter. Overall, it is not as doom and gloom as you might have heard it is for this spec. They have particularly great single target damage, coupled with great AoE burst damage if talented correctly. They have high mobility and immunity and pretty high self-sustained through the leech they acquire from their ferocity pet. That being said though, they do definitely lack on the survivability aspect, ironically, as hunters are arguably one of the squishiest classes in the game right now. This, coupled with the fact that you're in melee, is going to be pretty stressful to keep yourself alive, but it is definitely doable, so don't let that put you off. And also you can stack some versatility along the way to become even more tanky. Once again, if you enjoyed this guide and it helped you out, then please feel free to drop a like down below and also subscribe to your boy. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.